August 2025. I am playing Valkyria Chronicles 4. This game has something of a reputation. I anticipated that a palpable amount of nonsense would be spewed from the mouths of these soldiers, so my first tactical decision was to set the language to Japanese. My girlfriend is in the house and she does not speak Japanese. I was thinking I might have saved us both some embarrassment. Even so, she took one look at these flowery meadows and told me that it was in fact a pussy game. Valkyria Chronicles 4. Play after work, after your bath, after dinner, for 1 hour before bed. Often it's enough time for one main mission. Sometimes it's enough for a bunch of dialogue and 2 short missions. The pacing is completely random, yet somehow you'll always end up doing something meaningful every session. It's like supernaturally good at knowing when to break up back-to-back dialogue scenes with the odd skirmish. Starting with a top-down view, reminiscent of a board game, it only took me a few moments of looking at this map screen before I realized I was a child again. I was playing board games, chess, Transformers Battle for Cybertron. Transitioning from the overhead view into the third-person mode is to enter the imagination of the child playing that board game. When I played chess as a kid, this is what I saw. There might be a deeper piece here on how our imaginative perception of a game can enhance it beyond what it initially appears to be. Look at this squad. As you move your pieces, you develop strong internal narratives around each unit's personalities, as if these are characters in a book that you are authoring. The minute-to-minute gameplay creates stories almost as interesting as the overarching dialogue box-based narrative. Military training. It's tough, especially when you look like this. When you look like me. Your entire body hurts and you wish to God you could just be sitting at a desk all day. Conversely, if your 9-to-5 job already entails sitting at a desk, then you might find yourself daydreaming of cel-shaded video game boot camp. Work is slow, I'd rather write something fun. Does Claude Wallace have these same problems? Think he's pissed off because he never gets enough time to write in his diary, but he spends his days cramped up in a tank yelling into the radio over the sounds of a bloodless watercolor slaughter? Is Claude annoyed that his legacy will be one of a man committed solely to his job, and that the prose within his leather-bound diary will never be passed on? Does Claude Wallace want to be a writer? Look at the size of the man's book. Big book Claude. Players might find the scout class relatable in their own way. First out into the field, underappreciated. Scouts have a very high employee turnover rate. They were sold this lie that you can start as a scout and then work your way up to one day driving the tank. Turns out, that's not the career path they're fated to. Scouts begin as scouts and are then just promoted to elite scouts. Never be too good at your job or you might end up doing it forever. Some of these scouts can clear just about 2/3 of the map in one turn. They are the best class. And also the worst. Every time one gets gunned down, I feel like a war criminal. Now what about that though? Isn't it inherently disrespectful to make a historical tragedy into a video game that can be so juvenile? I'm thinking about The Kingsman, Captain America, Call of Duty Zombies. Now, these are all part of the lens through which popular culture views the world wars. They are willfully ignorant and extremely successful commercial products. How much further do we have to push it before it is 100% a guilt-free fantasy? Every fictional gunfight you've ever seen is to some extent an abstraction of a real-life tragedy. Peel back enough layers and you'll always find something ugly in there. To create something entertaining and exciting, we take an act of tragedy and siphon out the parts that are difficult to process. Yep, we are all animals of violence. Is it really so strange then to see the cute anime girl enjoying herself as she fatally cripples fascists? I must emphasize that crucially with Valkyria Chronicles, these smiles do not last. Let's Speaking of fascists, let's chat about research and development. Valkyria Chronicles' take on the Peace Walker wartime economy. Imagine if Peace Walker made you watch an unskippable animation of Chico saying every time Snake wanted to develop a new weapon. I'd stick to the banana gun the whole game. Due to my pragmatic distribution of class XP, every upgrade tier unlocked at a slow, even pace, while I kept collecting A ranks and scoring lots of resources. We lost a lot of tanks, unique soldiers too, but we always finished the mission fast and secured that A rank. I could afford every upgrade on the table and still had money to spare until I didn't. For the final third of the game I was poor and could no longer afford to sew the holes in my soldiers' pants. As a rule, I'd never replay a mission to farm resources. I'd also never reload a save if I got a bad rank. I'd created a sort of XCOM hardcore difficulty. The intention was to create a higher stakes experience wherein I'd try my best to beat every mission first try, no matter what units died and what scant resources I managed to claim. It was a bloody mess. Late game missions would stretch on for 7 to 8 turns, then 8 to 10, and then the A ranks became D ranks. Sometimes your armored personnel carrier on full HP and full of soldiers waiting to be deployed would dare to roll within breathing distance of the Vulcan. Raz might accidentally gun down your mission-critical Lancer 1 moment before she secures victory. Chimera would send your entire squad flying out of a building. One time, Minerva attempted to lead Lancers through a shortcut to take out some tanks, but her path was blocked by her own damn troops. Florette has a potential that prevents her from doing sneak attacks, a code of honor. I suppose she'd rather just get downed than trigger a last stand, kill the punk anyway, face to face this time, and then still get downed. Sometimes Nico can't even walk around the block. I still completed every one of these missions despite the setbacks. This is peak Valkyria Chronicles, when the situation changes in ways that couldn't be predicted, and you just have to look the game in the eye and improvise. Though I did have to live with the D ranks, and against the rising price of upgrades, eventually you can no longer afford to maintain your grenadiers, then the snipers, then the lancers. The endgame was a mess, and that's exactly what I wanted. My poor performance matching the drastic stakes of the story. By the time we landed in Swartzgrad, I was moved completely to the edge of my seat. It was a Wednesday morning. I was taking the day off work for my birthday. Sitting at my desk with coffee and cake, it felt kind of illegal. The simple pleasure of spending a day off binging a good video game. Now, I hope this is something I'll always be able to enjoy. I was on my 3rd coffee, shedding the occasional tear as I considered the full breadth of emotions these poor kids were going through. It can be very cute. Baka. The story being told here is the story of youth. Going out into the scary, uncharted world and still finding love in spite of it. It can have big Persona 4 energy. Every teen romance that we all lived at some point, then Time's March closed the book on. Your exchange ends, or you graduate, or your squad breaks up at the Battle of Swartzgrad. It ends and you grow up. But youth is still the same while it lasts. Yeah, it brushes up against some pretty Persona-esque tropes, but the narrative moves at its own pace, against the will of its characters. It goes places a lot faster than you'd expect, and it isn't afraid to completely uproot the status quo multiple times. The nice little moments aren't allowed to linger for long.
空ばかり見ていたおかげでね。あの頃の冴えない僕に感謝しないと。僕にしては気の利いたプレゼントだろ。
See, it gets me thinking about my own youth. This is very similar to the JRPGs I played back when I was 13. This is absolutely a game that I would binge over the summer holidays. Big Persona energy. You know, as an adult, it can be difficult to play Persona. I can see the appeal of wanting to relive your high school years, but that appeal is concealing of a deep longing. Adulthood molds your life into one of routine efficiency. You stop seeing new things. Your brain literally flattens out, like hormonally or some shit. Nothing since can match the sheer emotional intensity of adolescence. Claude writes that he and his friends grew up on the battlefield. He repeats this, insists upon it, that his is the story of adolescence. What then will the rest of his life entail? Will we ever see it? Or will the next game be another coming-of-age story for a new protagonist? To surmise, Valkyria Chronicles 4 took me but for a moment back to a youth that I never lived, one wherein my closest friends and I traipsed through snow, fell in love, and filled fascists with lead. The fact that I just stumbled upon this game fills me with hope. What other gems lie beneath the snowy blanket?
悲しいこと言うなよ。